Hey everyone, welcome to GoLocal Live. I am arts and entertainment host Ava Gaudet, and my show today has a very special theme. Tomorrow, as we know, is Valentine's Day, the most romantic holiday, or the most annoying holiday, depending on how you look at it. But my show today is going to feature three fun, creative ways to spend Valentine's Day. They're all performance-based events, all with something really unique to offer. So let's just jump right into it. My first guest here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center is Frank Fusaro. Hi, Frank. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Frank is artistic director for Bit Players. They are a improv comedy troupe based in Newport, Rhode Island's most award-winning comedy troupe, I should note.
Yes.
And they're doing a special Valentine's show tomorrow night. So definitely want to chat a little bit about Bit Players. Tell us a little bit about what Bit Players does, what your style is as an improv company.
Yeah, improv is an art form that's been around for a long time. It was used obviously to write scripts and all that kind of stuff early on, but it became a performance piece a long time ago. And there's generally just two different types of improv. There's long form improv and short form improv. We do what's called short form improv, which is a lot like Whose Line Is It Anyway, if you've ever seen that show. It's just short little games that we can jump in and out of, and different casts, different people for each one and all that. So it's really fast paced, high energy, and it's just something that people have come to love in our little space.
Yeah, and I imagine you take a lot of like suggestions from the audience and that kind of thing to keep it lively and
we always
unknown.
No two shows are ever the same. Everything is defined by the audience.
Yeah.
We are going to them all night long. We tell them they are part of the show as much as we are. And it's we always say if it's a good show, it's because we're very talented, and if it's a bad show, it's because our audience didn't help us out.
Right. So, blame it on them. They gave the suggestions after all.
That's right.
So you guys have a kind of a long-standing like residence almost at Firehouse Theater. You're there every Friday and Saturday night doing this improv show. Tell us a little bit about how that got started, because you are the artistic director. You sort of helped facilitate this.
Yeah, back in 2009, the group went through a bit of a split, and there were a few members left over. I had actually been performing with a company in Warwick, Rhode Island that I had just left. The owners of the theater and I had met at the Providence Improv Fest, actually, where I was performing, and we struck up conversation. Long story short, they pulled me in and asked me if I would take over as artistic director there and help them kind of resurrect what was left. So I did. I spent about a year training those guys that were left in getting them ready to perform. And yeah, we've been performing every Friday and Saturday without missing a single weekend since. The only time we don't have a show is if it falls on a major holiday or if there's a parking ban in Newport. So those are the only two times we've ever canceled. Those are the minimum we do, is Friday and Saturdays at 8. Beyond that, we have a ton of extra shows like tomorrow night.
Right, which we're definitely going to talk about because it's a special show for Valentine's Day called Love and Laughter. Isn't that lovely? So what can people expect? Are there going to be like specific games that are sort of targeted for this? Like what's the edge here for Valentine's Day?
Yeah, we every holiday show we have like games that are geared toward that holiday, right. And we change everything up for our special shows, especially because we get a lot of repeat guests as much as we get tourists to the door. So we want people who are coming, who have been to the show before to see something totally different, from show to show. So tomorrow night we're going to be doing a lot of like love-based, comedy, obviously.
Sure.
It's going to be kind of hard because none of our female performers are available tomorrow night. So it's all going to be a cast of men for the first
hilarious.
time.
It's already funny.
Yeah, it's already funny. Yeah. You'll see. We'll break down barriers tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be a good time. We have a guy named Vlad who is a Russian trained mime. He came from the Russian circus, studied under Marcel Marceau. For those that know who he is, he is phenomenally talented, and he has a very special bit that we have him do on Valentine's Day. It's called Love Story, and he mimes out an entire love story after we interview a couple. So gosh,
that sounds great.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it is.
So you guys also do kind of like improv musical stuff, which is so hard. Yeah. I mean, it's like not only are you improving the content, which you do anyway as improv comedians, but you have to improv the melody and your rhyming. How did you guys get good at this? Did you work on that a lot?
Yeah, a lot. I am not a singer by any stretch of the imagination. Despite a deep voice, I'm not musically inept one bit. So it's funny you say we have to find the melody. I don't even know what a melody is. I can't find a melody in a song. But we do spend a lot of time working on, what are different tropes and genres of music, where a rhyming pattern falls into the music, choruses for the more set pieces, those kind of things. So we spent a lot of time working on the skeleton of the game,
right?
And we spent a lot of time, working on how to be funny through music. But we don't spend so much time working on how to sing. Like we have a few performers who are very, very good singers, but the majority of us are not trained singers.
Yeah.
And you see that immediately when we start singing. So,
but it's okay because it's for comedy.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it makes it funnier. To see us struggle that much.
With all the comedy shows that you guys have done, do you find it difficult to not fall into sort of traps or repetitive things because I'm sure subjects come up often, you're playing games that you've played before. How do you keep it fresh all the time?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it does happen because, as much as the audience dictates our show to us, when we ask them for something like an occupation or a career, those are the same thing, but an occupation or a location or something, we often get the same stuff yelled out, and it's hard to sit there and say, no, we've done that before. Like give us something. Exactly. Like we kind of have to just go with it. So we challenge ourselves to go beyond what we've done before. But I also tell our company, if you ever got something that was suggested before that you did well on, that you hit a home run with, don't be afraid to kind of come back to that and use it again, because at one point that was you improvised it, you created it. It's not like that audience didn't see that show. So don't be afraid to you don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time, because we do get a lot of repetitive suggestions from the audience. So that's a great question. And the other side of it is we always try to ask differently. So if I said to one audience, can I have an occupation? And we kind of get the same things. Sometimes we make them take ownership of it. So we may say, can I have an occupation that your grandfather had? Which is a totally different bunch of suggestions that we get.
You're sort of leading in the direction. Have you ever had like just a truly crazy suggestion or something that you had to be like, sorry, I can't do that? Or
Consistently we get things, we laugh about it. We used to have something play on our screen when you come to the show that would tell you things that you might think are funny, but they're really not.
Okay.
And we hear them all the time. So like when I ask for an occupation, I can almost guarantee you anybody in the audience is going to yell out proctologist or gynecologist every single time, and they think it's hilarious.
Really lowbrow.
Yeah, and they think it's hilarious. They think it's the first time we ever could have possibly heard it. But it happens almost every single show, and we have a running joke. Like if it happens, you'll see us look at our watches and go, "Oh, I went to 10 minutes before." Whatever. But it happens quite often. Yeah, probably more often than the stuff we can actually use. So.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your background. You actually have a background in theater.
I do.
And you did study and work with a lot of different improv companies. Upright Citizens Brigade, I know, is one that's sort of a well-known one, especially among actors and people that are in like sort of Boston, New York, LA.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how you ended up in this improv world as opposed to theater.
Yeah,
or both. You're doing both.
I don't do too much traditional theater anymore. When I was in high school, typical jock in high school, played on the soccer team and didn't really want anything to do with theater, but I knew how to wield a hammer. I come from a construction family, so I would help build the sets. And I got hurt one year in soccer, and long story short, they got me on stage for one of the performances, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I got bit by the bug, I guess you could say, late in my high school career. So then when I went to college, I started hanging around the theater department at URI, and I became a theater major eventually. But I always kind of felt like I'm not really like a traditional theater person. It doesn't work for me. And I was in a show at URI, and this one friend of mine, Justin Lang, who is a local guy, came to me after the show and said, hey, you were really funny in that show. Have you ever considered doing improv? And I had no idea what it was. Had never really, I'd heard the word, but I didn't know what it was as an art form. And he asked me to meet him in the basement of this art museum in Warwick, which seemed kind of seedy. But I was like, sure, yeah, I'm young. I'll do anything, whatever. So I went, and it was just a small group of us back then. And I started learning improv from a guy from LA. And from there, with that company, I was open to a whole bunch of different experiences. We did a lot of festivals. We traveled a lot. All over the place, and that's where I started taking classes at UCB, some teachers from Second City, Improv Boston, Improv Asylum. We traveled all over the place to do stuff. It cost me a lot of money back then. I always tell some of our performers now who are performing for the first time in their first company that they've ever been a part of and getting paid to do it. They have
Right.
no idea how lucky they are
Oh
because
my
that's
gosh,
not
I
very
know.
typical for improvisers.
It's
But
very
yeah,
true.
yeah. So it was quite the journey to get where I am now. But yeah, it's one of those things where you just look back and the series of events that got me here, everything had to fall in place at the right time
Right.
for that to happen. So.
Well, it's so cool because it sounds like the company is truly like a company. I feel like sometimes with groups that do this kind of thing, it's almost freelance-ish where people kind of come and go. But it sounds like you are actually doing like training where you guys are sort of all on the same page and working together. It's cool. It's definitely not something you see all the time.
Yeah, and we credit that to everybody in our cast. I mean, we have a cast of people who are, everybody brings their own tools to the,
Right.
into our theater, and we wouldn't be able to work without each other. It really is a collaborative effort. But on the other side of that, I'm the artistic director, and I've been the artistic director since 2009. And I've tried to actually leave that position a couple times, and it always seems to come back, and I always seem to get pulled back in because we just have to correct our course, and the only way to do that is to keep going the way we were. But yeah, we absolutely work together to accomplish a lot more than just our regular weekly performances. We've done a lot of corporate trainings. We do a lot of community reach out programs, a lot of after school programs, stuff like that. So we've really kind of stepped beyond our stage to try to bring improv out into the world and kind of find a way to use it to help our community. And it actually has taken off in the last 2 years with the help of one of our newest members, Anne-Marie Holly, who really has kind of taken the lead on that, especially with corporate training and workshops and all that stuff. So yeah, it really is. It's a group effort, and it's a fun family to be a part of. That's for sure.
It really sounds like it, and obviously, most award-winning company in Rhode Island. What is the award that you're most proud of?
For me, it would have to be our TripAdvisor awards that we get every year. We get a certificate of excellence from TripAdvisor, which isn't even common for a lot of performance companies. Most of them are just, they win like arts awards and those kind of things. But the TripAdvisor award is truly given to us because our audience members go out onto TripAdvisor and write positive reviews, and we encourage them to do that at the end of every show. But it's something that you can only get if they're doing that and if they're good reviews. So, for us, it's not like a popularity contest. It's not getting a bunch of people to vote for you for a certain award. It's just earned, and we win it. We won it every year for the last 6 or 7 years now. So that's a big one for us.
Yeah.
We do love getting the awards from all the different publications around Rhode Island. Those are always great too. But that one is one that we have no control over. It's just,
right. You can't like push to get people to vote.
We can't go on our Facebook page and say everybody vote on TripAdvisor. We can beg them to put a review on TripAdvisor, but that's up to them on what they write. And we've been lucky enough to have some really amazing reviews.
That's really cool. So tomorrow night we have obviously this Valentine's show. You also have another special show coming up that's an all ages show.
Yeah.
So this is always fascinating to me because I just imagine it must be difficult as comedians who are doing improv to just like kind of censor yourself. Is it difficult for you guys to do these family-friendly shows? Do you have to put,
For some of us, for some of us it is. I tend to be more of an adult comedian and catering to the older crowd. But some of us are very good at it. That's what I mean by everybody has their own tool set when they come onto our stage. And Vlad, who I was talking about earlier, he the kids love him. He's animated. He's like a cartoon character in real life. So some, it depends on which performer we're talking about.
Right.
Some of us don't pull back, but we always joke it's like a live action Pixar movie because if I'm up there, you're gonna get some adult themed jokes that are too highbrow for the kids to even comprehend.
Maybe the parents will get it.
But the parents will get it, and it's a little softball to them. But yeah, I mean, the best thing about our kids shows is we involve the kids a lot more than we would involve a normal crowd. We get them on stage as much as we can, and a kid, it's amazing to see kids come on stage and either take to it like they were born to be there, or the kids who are waving, pick me, and then they come on stage and they just
clam up,
shut down. And it's like, oh yeah, and their parents like, I don't get it. They always want to be on stage, and that's what. So yeah, we get them up there as much as we can. We give them a chance to be little stars.
Yeah.
In that show. It's fun.
So the family-friendly show is on the 21st,
and
of course tomorrow night, Love and Laughter, special Valentine's show, all at Firehouse Theater in Newport, which is your home base.
Yep.
All the information will be on golocalprov.com. Frank, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Really fun talking to you. I'm going to take a very quick pause. I have so much more fun show for you, so stick around. We'll be right back. Hello everyone, welcome back to Go Local Live. I am Arts and Entertainment host Ava Gaudette. Up next, right here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center, we have a really fun event that we're going to learn about. It's an 80s themed, nerdy, burlesque show. So much fun going on, and we have the events organizer here, Heather Edwards. Hi, Heather.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for being here today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
So this event sounds just like a ton of fun, like, you know, just let loose, kind of play some video games, watch a show, have a good time. Tell us a little bit about how you came up with the concept for this event.
So I do sort of nerdy kind of pop culture events at a local arcade bar called Free Play. I think they're actually just around the corner from here.
Perfect.
But they're in downtown Providence. And so I've done singles nights for them, I've done board game nights, things like that, and I have a very good friend who does burlesque, and we kind of thought to marry the two and have a nerdy themed burlesque. And we figured Valentine's Day would be the best day to do it, because more couples tend to come out to burlesque. So, and then with my singles nights things that I do, I figured, you know what, let's pair it with the singles nights, so couples come out. If you don't have something to do on Valentine's Day, or if you have nothing to do on Valentine's Day because you don't have a Valentine, come and we'll help you find one.
Yeah, there you go. So there's a lot of different components to this event. Obviously, Free Play is an arcade bar, so there's going to be some video games, obviously the burlesque performance. What are some of the other elements to the event?
So we're doing the burlesque, obviously, but the show is also going to include some singing. It's going to include some comedy acts. We're going to have a little bit of a raffle going on. Like I said, the singles event as well, and then that's all happening in their performance space upstairs. And then we're going to have a few intermissions for you to go downstairs to go play the video games. They're all free to play. You pay the $5 cover to get into the arcade, and everything is free. They've got a cash bar. They've got a full kitchen.
Nice.
So.
Sounds like a good time. So you said that you do this kind of nerd culture-based event where you incorporate nerd culture. Tell us a little bit about what do you consider to be nerd culture, and how do you incorporate them into your events?
I mean, nerd culture is a huge spectrum. I mean, I tend to try to not be as gatekeepy as possible. You know, if you consider yourself a nerd, then you're a nerd, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Yes, exactly. Own your nerdiness.
So if you like Marvel, if you say I'm a Marvel fan, but I've only watched the movies, then you're still a nerd, and don't let anyone tell you, oh, you gotta watch the
no qualifications are necessary. That's cool. So this burlesque event, it's really making a big resurgence, I feel like, in pop culture today. A lot of events and event spaces are incorporating burlesque performances. How did you decide to incorporate this, and how do you feel this kind of supports this type of culture?
So, I mean, it tends to be like nerds tend to have grown up sort of maybe picked on, or, you know, it wasn't the cool thing to do. And I think a lot of that comes out in burlesque as well, where, you know, burlesque is very body positive, and they try and take people who you might not normally feel sexy or whatever and empower them to feel that way. And I think, you know, nerd culture tends to do that as well, of taking somebody who might have been, you know, beaten down growing up and being like, no, this is cool now.
Yeah, right. And because it is so creative and it really is an art form, burlesque, they're telling a story as they're doing their performance. And so it sounds like they're going to be incorporating kind of this nerd culture into their performances or their costuming. How would that work?
So all of the acts are nerd themed. So we've got a couple anime acts, we've got a couple video game acts,
Okay.
and then we're at an arcade, so we wanted to go kind of retro-y with it, so there's a couple retro things in there as well.
Fun.
Yeah.
This is going to be at Free Play, and we also wanted to give away a ticket to this event.
Yep.
So, of course, it's tomorrow night starting at 8 p.m., I believe?
So the show starts at 8.
Okay.
7 o'clock, we're doing like a little meet and greet with some of the performers. They're going to be downstairs. You can take pictures and everything. And the arcade itself opens at 5. So if you want to come, grab a pizza there, grab some drinks, play some games before the show, you're more than welcome to do that.
Okay, cool. So get there early. Show starts at 8 o'clock. We're going to do a ticket giveaway. And here's how we're going to do it. The first person to tweet us at GoLocalProv with the hashtag NerdyBurlesque will get a free ticket to this 80s themed burlesque show tomorrow night. It's going to be a good time. Tweet us. We'll get you a ticket. It'll be waiting for you at the front door. So one of the cool things, we do have a special guest with us.
Too, we have Gilted Lily with us.
Gilted Lily. So she's going to be performing tomorrow night as part of the burlesque.
Yep, she's going to be performing, and she's also kittening for the rest of the performers.
Kittening. So this is a thing. This is a burlesque. We'll talk to Gilted Lily about this. But yeah, so she's going to be performing, and we're going to chat a little bit with her about that aspect. So Heather, thank you so much for being here and talking about the event. We're going to now swap with Gilted Lily.
Yep, I'll go get her.
All right, thank you so much. Come on out. Hello. Oh, you look so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So do you. I love your outfit.
Thank you. Oh, okay, Gilted Lily. So you are a burlesque performer. You've done this before. Tell us a little bit about what the show Kitten does for burlesque shows. I love this. I love what the whole concept, because obviously you have an inherent problem because the performers take off their clothes, now they're hanging out all over the floor. So how do we solve that problem?
So the stage kitten is generally sort of a sexy stagehand. We usually dress up and
a little closer to me.
Excuse me. There we go.
I know, we are awkwardly close. There's no personal space.
I mean,
here.
I'm always awkward, so
okay,
it's
perfect.
okay. So the stage kitten is a stagehand. First and foremost, we dress up just because it's part of the, I don't know, it's just sort of
part of the aesthetic.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's my job as a stage kitten to set up acts, clean up afterwards. So I take care of the clothes so the performers aren't,
tripping
up
falling,
or picking up their own
that's
clothes.
True, yeah.
And then the stage kitten also is there to fill stage time if necessary, be a runner, get dancers water, just sort of be a general personal assistant.
Yeah.
So, and it's actually a job that I really enjoy doing.
Well, it's you have to have a lot of different skill sets. Like you said, you do have to have the charisma and this performance aspect of it, because you are a sort of part of the performance, and if you have to fill space, you have to be able to, take the stage.
Right. But it's also, as a stage kitten, I've seen a lot of kittens that have a hard time letting the dancers have the spotlight.
Oh, yes.
So you got to make
There's
sure
an
that
art to it, yes.
you're careful.
And you're also going to be performing, so you're going to be singing.
Yes.
In the show tomorrow. So tell us a little bit about what your showcase will be.
So I am going to leave this song a surprise.
Okay, no spoilers.
But it is silly and ridiculous, and it's from the 80s, and I don't know if I would call it nerdy as much as I would call it dorky.
Great. Love it. Nerdy and dorky, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing, just singing.
Perfect. This sounds like such a fun event. It really does sound like a good time. Gilted Lily, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Again, this is going to be at Free Play. All the information will be on our website. GoLocalProv.com. We do have our free ticket giveaway. Don't forget, first person who tweets us at GoLocalProv with the hashtag NerdyBurlesque gets a free ticket to the show tomorrow night. Gilded Lily, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Have a great show tomorrow night.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. So up next in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center, I'm very excited to speak with this musician. She is extremely accomplished. There's going to be a concert tomorrow night featuring her and some other local and beyond performers. Come on out, Judith. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Judith Stillman is a pianist and artist in residence at Rhode Island College.
That's correct.
And there's so much to talk about. Your career is just incredible. I mean, just your education alone, you have your bachelor's, master's, and doctoral from the Juilliard School. Just incredible.
Thank you. It was absolutely excellent training, and I was very lucky to be hired as artist in residence just upon receiving my doctorate. So I've been here for quite some time since then.
Amazing, amazing. So this concert tomorrow, let's talk a little bit about this particular show. It's called Love Notes, and it incorporates love songs from across the world. So tell us a little bit about the program and how you chose which pieces you were going to do for this.
Oh, sure. So I think that love is probably the most powerful catalyst for artistic creation. So there was a plethora of repertoire from which to choose, and we happened to be featuring two of the most amazing opera singers. Perhaps you know the tenor Yegisha Manouchian and his wife Victoria Avatisian, who's a mezzo-soprano, and they're singing love duets and arias.
Beautiful.
And, in Armenian, Russian, French, Italian, and English.
Amazing.
So there's something for everyone.
I would say so.
And also the wonderful Ricardo Pitzwiley, who is the artistic director or the founder of Mixed Magic Theater, will be reciting poetry. And I think he has a timbre to his voice that matches the opera singers so beautifully, and we intersperse the poetry with the opera singing. And on hand in the evening will be Kim Kalunian, WPRI's eyewitness news reporter. So it's an exciting evening, and I'll be at the piano.
Yes, which is going to be a treat, just that alone. One of the things that I loved about this is the Armenian music. I happen to be of Armenian heritage myself, and so I love that that is going to be incorporated. Obviously, the singers sound like they are also Armenian.
They are, and yes, there will be a significant Armenian presence and repertoire, including, you might know, there's a beautiful, poignant lullaby. So, in fact, we're talking about all kinds of love. So maternal love, love's lost, love's found. You know, love takes on so many dimensions, and we'll be exploring many of them. And also through artwork, because there will be artwork featured that will dovetail with each song, and each poem.
It sounds amazing. I love Ricardo Pitzwiley, of course. He's a good friend of the show. He's been on a number of times. He is a wonderful performer, and you're right, he has a beautiful voice, speaking and singing. So that will be lovely to enjoy as well. I wanted to talk a little bit too about some of your other endeavors, because you're very involved in your community. You're composer, filmmaker, activist. You do a lot of wonderful things. So one of your most famous collaborations was with Wynton Marsalis, famous jazz trumpet player, of course.
That was a profound collaboration. I've known him since we were teenagers. We were fellowship students together at the Tanglewood Music Festival. Then he subsequently enrolled in a piano class. I was teaching at Juilliard. I was doing that while I was working on my degree. And then we became friends for many years, and one day he just said, hey, let's make a CD together. Well,
amazing.
Yes, people don't even make CDs anymore.
Well, yeah, that's true. But, well, they make recordings, and then they find some way to get it out there now.
And so that's very important repertoire in the trumpet and piano world. Major sonatas by Hindemith, Halsey Stevens, pieces by Leonard Bernstein, Ravel. It's not what you might expect. It's not jazz.
Yeah, but I love that. I love that you both had the opportunity on this to explore different things musically and together you were able to make that happen.
And it was special, and it was completely diametrically opposed to what I did this summer, which was I headlined with the Beach Boys.
Amazing.
Which was wild in front of 20,000 people.
That's crazy.
It was
How did
pretty
that
crazy.
end up coming together?
So I knew that I was going to be somehow perhaps accompanying them in the background, but I guess they heard me during the first half of the concert where I was playing something like a concerto type, out in front of the orchestra. And they just kind of grabbed me at intermission and said, "Hey, what are you doing during the second half?" I said, "Well, I think I'm your backup." They said, "No, you're not our backup. You're coming out in front." And I said, "What? No rehearsal." They said, "No, just do it." And so I just
That's
did it.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you
Well,
have to
there's only
improvise
3
as well.
chords in Barbara Ann, right?
You're like, I've been to Juilliard. I can play 3 chords. Are you from Rhode Island originally?
I'm from New York.
Oh, you're from New
I
York.
can't hear it in my voice.
Well, I
No.
mean, we sort of sound like that too around here, so it's hard sometimes.
Right.
And how did you end up finding your way here? Because obviously you mentioned that you had taught at Juilliard as well. So how did Rick get to be the lucky school that was able to get you as
That's
artist
so
in
sweet.
residence?
I feel lucky and blessed that I met Rick. But the way it happened is I was in the Marlborough Music Festival that summer, which was a festival up in Vermont with, oh my goodness, great, like Rudolph Cirque, and I'm definitely dating myself when I talk about this. But my mom, and this really dates me, read in the newspaper, there was an ad for this job. Now, who puts ads in the New York Times anymore?
So true.
So, and she sent me the clipping by U.S. mail and said, "Doesn't this seem like something you'd be interested in?" And indeed, it was exactly what I wanted to be doing.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
while I'm working with talented students, but I also have the freedom to create and to collaborate and to work with other arts institutions and bring them to the state and bring them to the campus. And so ultimately, it gave me creative wings, and I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, and
So-
it's really amazing. So one of the things I wanted to mention, and please, if there's something that you want to make sure we bring up, just let me know. There's an organization that you started. You're the founder. Wynton Marsalis is artistic director, and it is called Refugee Artistry. I would love to know more about this organization. You're using music in a way for outreach. Tell me a little bit about this organization.
Yeah, so actually it's a multifaceted arts project, and what we are doing is we're seeking submissions by, for, and about refugees, because we feel that refugees are the least often heard in the debate about the refugee crisis.
Right.
So it's really to give a voice to the voiceless, and through the arts, and creating artistic performances and all kinds of projects that will be related, but we're still seeking submissions as we kind of plan ahead.
Right. You have so many projects. It's truly amazing. You're obviously a very creative person because you're writing and you're composing, always performing while you're teaching. It's truly amazing. How do you find the time?
Oh my goodness. I think that being inspired just kind of creates its own energy, and you just kind of keep going.
Yeah, it's true. When you have inspiration, it sort of comes out. You almost can't stop it.
But I really have to say that a lot of it is my collaborators. That it's that reflexive kind of joy. And one collaboration that I would love to mention that will be coming up in April is with the Rhode Island Philharmonic, principals of the Rhode Island Philharmonic, and me, and Tony Estrella, who's the artistic director of GAM.
Yes, we've had him on the show as well.
Oh, wonderful. We're doing an all Beethoven program the last Sunday in April at the Rhode Island Philharmonic's Music School. And this will be a new script, and it's kind of, and I've written it.
Okay, wonderful.
It's, I guess I'd say it's a play within a concert, or a concert within a play.
Okay.
And so Tony Estrella will be playing the role of Beethoven as well as 4 of his contemporaries, and that'll be interspersed with chamber music played by principals of the Rhode Island Philharmonic and me. So really looking forward to that.
And that's in April, you said?
That's April 29th, the last Sunday, with a preview at Rhode Island College the prior Thursday, which is, I think, the 26th.
Wow, amazing. So much going on. So, of course, Love Notes tomorrow. There are 2 performances at Rhode Island College, and they're free, which I find so incredible.
Well, yes, and actually that sort of makes me think of the story of Valentine's Day, which is rather wild. And when you think of how commercialized Valentine's Day is, but yet ours is free. So, the background is that basically there was an edict from the emperor back in the 3rd century that he did not want young couples to marry. He forbid it because he thought that young men would be better soldiers if they weren't thinking of wives and families. So Saint Valentine decided to marry these people secretly, and of course eventually it was found out, and he was imprisoned, he was tortured, he was beheaded.
Wow.
And I know, imagine we're thinking this holiday of love.
Right.
And he became a martyr and a saint of young love, was sort of the way it was, kind of the way that we kind of construed it. And then, I don't know, some years later, Chaucer in the medieval ages decided to compare St. Valentine with birds that were mating. And from that, eventually it became this incredible, enterprise, commercial enterprise. So yes, we're proud that this is a free event. We're not capitalizing.
Yes,
on
right.
the sort of commercialism of
The
it.
commercialism of the holiday. It's true. And it sounds like a very romantic setting. They're all love songs in different languages, which sometimes it's more romantic to hear something in another language.
I think you're absolutely right. And to hear the glorious sounds of these voices, I can't tell you. Well, I have to keep myself from crying when I hear Yegosha and Victoria sing.
Yeah, he's from the Metropolitan Opera.
He has sung lead roles with the Metropolitan Opera, New York City Opera.
Amazing.
She has sung at the Kennedy Center with Bobby McFerrin.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be pretty spectacular. And as long as I don't cry, I'll be able to see the music.
I know, yeah, right, exactly. How did you choose the program? How did you choose the songs?
Many of them are in their repertoire. The operatic repertoire, for example, she's kind of, her signature piece really is the habanera from Carmen, which is, that piece with, I don't want to get too technical, but that's like a descending chromatic scale, which basically sounds very flirtatious.
Okay.
And she's great at that. And, O Sole Mio, and they're ending with a piece called Libiamo, which basically means, let's drink. And so, in addition to love being, intoxicating, we want to be intoxicated when we're in love.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, it sounds like a beautiful event. Again, it's free. There's 2 performances, 1 p.m. and 7:30 at the Nazarian Center for the Performing Arts at Rhode Island College. Judith, thank you so much for being here. It was wonderful talking to you.
Great to meet you, to talk with you.
Yes, so that was my Valentine's special. You can stay right here. Come on, stay here. And that was my show for today. Be sure to check out Kate Nagel with News and Politics at 4 o'clock. And I will see you next week, same time, same place. Thanks so much.